You stand here not merely as flesh and bone, but as commanders of your own destiny. And I tell you this, the battlefield is not out there in the world, it lies within your mind. If you master your mind, you master your life. If you fail to, you become a servant, not to a king, not to an empire, but to fear, doubt, and distraction. Let me speak plainly. A man with no clarity is a blind general. He walks into the world hoping it bends to his will. But hope is not a strategy. Vision is. Purpose is. Strategy is. Without them, you are merely wandering. You say you want victory, then I ask you, do you command your mood, or does it command you? If you only act when you feel like it, then you are nothing more than a leaf in the wind. Discipline is the sword. Use it daily, not occasionally. Your thoughts, they are your troops. Direct them well, and they will build empires. Let them scatter in fear, and they will burn your kingdom from within. I have seen men fall, not from wounds of the body, but from the poison of their thoughts. A whisper of doubt left unchecked grows into a storm that devours ambition. Control it, silence it. Train your emotions as you would train a soldier. Let not fear paralyze you. Let it sharpen you. Let not anger blind you. Let it drive you. Emotions are tools, not masters. You are the master. And when you focus, truly focus, the world narrows. All else fades. The path clears. That, my friends, is power. Laser-like focus is not natural. It is forged. It is won through repetition, through saying no to the noise 1,000 times. Feed your mind like a kingdom. Wisely guard the gate. What you read, what you watch, what you repeat. These are the bricks of your fortress. Build it strong. Remember, you cannot conquer the world until you conquer yourself. Self-mastery is the first and greatest conquest. And finally, consistency, the crown jewel of all power. Anyone can be strong once. Anyone can rise for a moment. But empires are not built in moments. They are built day by day, step by step, habit by habit. That is the throne. That is how you win. So I leave you with this. Do not beg life to give you a crown. Forge one. Hammered by thought, sharpened by will, tempered by action. Master your mind, and the world has no choice but to kneel. Clarity is not a luxury. It is a necessity. A mind without clear intention is like an army marching in circles, wasting energy, exhausting spirit, achieving nothing. When you wake up without knowing why, the world decides for you. You become reactive, chasing shadows instead of forging paths. But when your mind is fixed on a target, sharp, specific, undeniable, everything changes. You begin to move with purpose, decisions become easier, distractions lose their grip, and time bends to your will. A man who knows exactly what he wants becomes dangerous. Not because he is ruthless, but because he is unshakable. The winds of opinion, the noise of the crowd, the weight of failure, they do not move him. Clarity makes you immune to chaos. It gives you direction in the storm. It becomes your internal compass when nothing else makes sense. Before any empire is built, before any victory is won, there must be a moment, quiet, private, powerful, where the mind says, this is the mission. And from that moment on, everything that does not serve it is discarded. Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. So ask yourself, not someday, not later, but now, what do I want with absolute clarity? If your answer is fog, your life will be fog. But if your answer is fire, your life will burn with purpose. Clarity, my friend, is power. It is the beginning of all mastery. Discipline is the line between those who dream and those who do. Every man feels tired. Every woman feels doubt. Every warrior has moments when the body aches and the mind whispers, rest, quit, not today. But the master of the mind hears that whisper and marches anyway. Because discipline is not a feeling, it is a command. It is the act of choosing action over excuse, duty over delay, purpose over pleasure. Mood is a fickle thing. It changes with the weather, with a word, with a single moment. But discipline is steel. It does not ask how you feel, it tells you what must be done. The disciplined man wakes before the sun not because he wants to, but because it is time to move. The disciplined mind trains when no one is watching, when the applause is gone, when the world forgets him. And in that silence, he becomes unstoppable. Feelings are passengers. Discipline is the driver. When you surrender to mood, you become a slave to comfort. You wait for motivation to strike as if greatness is a gift that arrives when it feels like it. But mastery comes from showing up, especially when you don't feel like it, because those are the days that forge something greater than talent. They forge character. You cannot build an empire by feeling your way through it. You build it by showing up, brick by brick, command by command, day after day. Let others be swayed by their emotions. Let them wait for the right time. You act, you move, you do. The voice inside your head is the most powerful force you will ever face, and the most dangerous if left unchecked. It speaks constantly, quietly, shaping every action, every belief, every identity. It is the general behind every command your body follows, and yet most people never take control of it. They let it run wild like an untrained beast, whispering doubt, feeding fear, dragging them into weakness without even realizing it. You must become the commander of that voice. You must choose its tone, its words, its direction, because if you don't, it will default to the noise of the world, telling you you're not enough, that it's too hard, that success is for someone else. And if you listen long enough, you will believe it. And once you believe it, it becomes truth. That voice must be trained like a soldier, precise, direct, unwavering. It must echo confidence when the world screams failure. It must shout persistence when your legs want to quit. It must speak victory before victory arrives, not because it's delusional, but because the mind must lead before the world follows. Do not allow the voice of fear to sit on the throne. Do not let the voice of laziness speak louder than the voice of discipline. Your inner dialogue is not just commentary, it is creation. Every word you allow it to speak writes a line in the story of your life. So speak like a king, command like a conqueror. When your mind says, I don't know if I can, correct it, I will. When it says, what if I fail, replace it, what if I rise? This is not about blind positivity. This is about deliberate authority over your internal world. Because when you learn to speak powerfully to yourself, the world starts to listen. And when your inner voice becomes a weapon, there is no force outside you that can break what is built within. Focus is the blade that cuts through chaos. Without it, you are scattered, distracted, pulled in 100 directions, and effective in none. The world today is a storm of noise, messages, demands, temptations, opinions. And if your mind is not disciplined to focus, it becomes a prisoner to every passing impulse. You start things and never finish. You chase opportunities but master nothing. You're busy but not effective, active but not advancing. Focus is what separates the ones who try from the ones who dominate. It is the power to say no, not out of arrogance, but out of purpose. The focused mind understands that every yes is a sacrifice. You say yes to one thing, you are saying no to 1,000 others. So choose wisely, prioritize ruthlessly. When you are clear on your mission, distractions lose their power. You don't entertain every invitation. You don't chase every spark. You pursue what matters, and you pursue it relentlessly. True focus is not just about attention, it's about intention. It's knowing why you're doing what you're doing. It's locking your eyes, your energy, your time onto one thing until it bends to your will. It's giving up the illusion of multitasking and embracing the discipline of depth, deep work, deep thought, deep mastery. When your mind is focused, your energy sharpens, you move faster, you think clear, you see further. Opportunities begin to appear, not because they weren't there before, but because your scattered attention kept you blind. Focus is the lens that brings your future into view. And when you lock in, when nothing else matters but the mission, you become unstoppable. Let others be pulled in every direction. Let them be slaves to their phones, their urges, their distractions. You fix your gaze. You guard your time like gold. You do not let the shallow steal from the deep, because you understand a focused mind is a forged weapon, and the one who wields it with precision will win, not someday, but now. Your thoughts are the architects of your reality. What you think consistently and deeply becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes how you act, how you speak, how you walk into the world. You cannot think weak and live strong. It's impossible. The mind leads and life follows. Everything begins in the mind. The man who constantly thinks, I'm not good enough, will never rise, even if he has the talent. The woman who believes, I always fail, will sabotage every chance at success, not because she isn't capable, but because her mind is already defeated. These are not just passing thoughts. They are orders being given to your body, your energy, your future. But flip the script. Command your thoughts like a warrior. Begin to think in terms of strength, progress, and inevitability. Not arrogance, but certainty. You say to yourself, I will find a way. You say, every setback sharpens me. You say, I am built for this battle. And suddenly your posture changes. Your decisions get bolder. Your world begins to shift. This isn't fantasy. This is the power of self-conditioning. The thoughts you repeat become the lens you see through. The world doesn't change, but how you show up in it does. And that alone changes everything. You are not just living life, you are constantly programming it through your thoughts. Feed weakness, and you will live weak. Feed strength, and you will live strong. Your reality bends not to what you wish, but to what you believe. So think deliberately. Think powerfully. Think like a master, because the mind you command writes the life you live. Emotions are not the enemy, but they are not your leader either. They are powerful, unpredictable, and often irrational. Left unchecked, they will rule your decisions, sabotage your discipline, and drag you away from purpose. But when trained, when mastered, they become fuel. They become fire aimed in the right direction. Most people are ruled by how they feel. If they feel tired, they stop. If they feel afraid, they freeze. If they feel angry, they react. And then they wonder why their life is chaotic, unstable, inconsistent. The truth is, feelings are like wild horses. If you don't take the reins, they'll run you into the ground. Mastery means this. You feel everything, but you don't obey everything. You use emotion like a tool, not a guide. Anger, focus it. Use it to create, to push, to build. Fear, let it sharpen you. Let it prepare you. Sadness, let it humble you, teach you, deepen your perspective, but never let it stop your movement. There is no power in suppressing your emotions. That is weakness disguised as control. The real strength lies in understanding them, feeling them fully, but never letting them dictate your path. You don't shove emotions into the corner. You bring them into the room and say, you will not drive this vehicle. You can sit, you can speak, but I decide where we go. This is what separates warriors from wanderers. The warrior feels fear and moves anyway, feels doubt and acts anyway, feels overwhelmed and still chooses the mission. That is emotional strength. Not denial, but dominion. The mind must be the commander. Emotions are the soldiers. Some are wild, some are disciplined, but all must be led, because if you let emotion lead thought, you will live in reaction. But if you lead emotion with thought, you live in intention. So train them, use them, master them, because when your emotions become your allies instead of your masters, your power multiplies. You become unshakable not because you feel nothing, but because you are ruled by nothing. Adaptability is not a weakness, it is the mark of a master strategist. Life is a battlefield that never stays the same. The terrain shifts, the weather turns, the enemy changes tactic. If your mind is rigid, you will break. If your thinking is stuck in one form, one plan, one way, you will lose the war, even if you were winning the first half. Victory belongs not to the strongest, but to the most adaptable. The mind must be fluid. It must move quickly, adjust instantly, pivot with precision. When a plan fails, the undisciplined mind panics, collapses, starts asking, why me? But the mastered mind simply says, next move. No hesitation, no self-pity, just analysis, adjustment, and advance. Adaptability doesn't mean you lack vision. It means you're smart enough to change your route without changing your destination. The mission remains. The method evolves. That is intelligence in motion. Inflexibility is the death of progress. It's the man who refuses to learn a new skill, the woman who clings to a failed system, the leader who keeps repeating yesterday's tactics in today's war. fail because they weren't good. They fail because they stopped growing. To master your life, your mind must become a living weapon, sharpened not just by discipline, but by the ability to shift, to reframe, to innovate under pressure. You don't get attached to comfort. You don't marry your method. You remain loyal only to the outcome. In battle, in business, in life, those who adapt wins. They see the shift coming before others do. They stay calm in uncertainty. They improvise when the map no longer fits the terrain. And most of all, they never stop moving forward. So train your mind not just to be strong, but to be agile. Not just focused, but flexible. Because in a world that never stops changing, your ability to adapt is not just a skill, it is survival. It is strategy, it is power. What you feed your mind becomes your reality. Just as the body becomes what you eat, the mind becomes what you consume. What you watch, read, listen to, and allow to repeat inside your head. Most people are not failing because they lack potential. They're failing because they're feeding their mind junk, distraction, drama, negativity, fear, and then they wonder why they feel lost, anxious, unmotivated. Your mind is not a garbage can. It is a fortress, a kingdom, and what you allow through its gates determines the strength of its walls. If all you consume is chaos, your thoughts will be chaotic. If all you absorb is weakness, your mindset will decay. The stories you listen to, the people you surround yourself with, the voices you allow to echo in your head, these are the architects of your belief system. The mastered mind is not accidental. It is curated. It is built intentionally. The books you read, the ideas you engage with, the mentors you listen to, they shape how you think, and how you think shapes everything else. You don't become strong by scrolling through noise. You don't become sharp by drowning in meaningless content. You must feed your mind with power, daily, deliberately. This means seeking out challenge, not comfort. It means filling your mind with thoughts that elevate you, not opinions that sedate you. It means finding content, people, and messages that push you toward growth, that demand more from you, that stretch your vision, that force you to level up. And it also means guarding your input. Just as a general secures the perimeter before battle, you secure your mental environment. You don't allow just anyone access to your headspace. You block out the noise, the gossip, the distractions disguised as entertainment. Because you understand the mind you build is the life you live. And if you feed it with weakness, you will walk through the world weak. So choose what you allow in. Audit your influences. Sharpen your intake. Treat your mind like a sacred weapon. Because when it's fed with power, it begins to generate power. And from there, everything changes. Self-mastery is the highest form of power. Before you can command anything in this world, wealth, success, respect, even love, you must first command yourself. And this is where most people lose. They try to control everything around them, other people, circumstances, outcomes, yet they cannot even control their own habits, thoughts, or reaction. Conquering the external world means nothing if your internal world is in chaos. A man who builds an empire but is a slave to his own impulses will eventually burn it all down. A woman who rises in status but cannot master her insecurities will sabotage her own success. The real war is not outside, it is within. And until you win that war, nothing you build will be sustainable. Self-mastery means holding the line when no one is watching. It means doing what must be done even when you don't feel like it. It means refusing to be a victim of your own mind. You don't negotiate with laziness. You don't indulge weakness. You catch it, confront it, and crush it. Not once, but every day. You must become the watcher of your thoughts, the guardian of your emotions, the commander of your actions. You must know your own patterns better than the world does, where you sabotage, where you hide, where you delay, and then you must have the courage to call it out and fix it. No one will hand you power. No one will give you discipline. No one will gift you control over your life. These things are earned in silence, in solitude, in the daily grind of choosing growth over comfort. Mastering yourself is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming responsible, fully, brutally responsible. No more blaming, no more waiting, no more hoping. You own your thoughts. You own your results. You own your life. And when you reach that level, when nothing within you moves without your permission, then and only then can you bend the world to your vision, because the hardest part, the real test, has already been won. Your life will always rise or fall to the level of your standards, not your goals, not your dreams, not your wishes, your standards. Anyone can say they want success, but what you're truly willing to tolerate, what you accept, what you settle for, what you let slide, if your standards are low, your results will follow. If you accept average, you'll live average. If you allow weakness, you'll become it. The world doesn't give you what you want. It reflects what you demand from yourself. Raising your standards means deciding that certain behaviors, thoughts, and outcomes are no longer acceptable. It means drawing a line in the sand and saying, I do not cross this. Not now, not ever. It's the silent contract you make with yourself, the one no one else sees but defines everything about how you live, how you work, how you show up. It starts with the small things. Do you wake up when you said you would, or do you snooze? Do you finish what you start, or do you leave it half done? Do you train when it's inconvenient? Speak truth when it's uncomfortable? Lead when it would be easier to follow? These aren't just habits. They're standards. And the truth is, how you do anything is how you do everything. When you raise your standards, something shifts inside you. You no longer chase motivation. You become the reason. You stop blaming circumstances because you refuse to live beneath your potential. The people around you change too. Some fall away because your elevation exposes their excuses. Others rise with you because your example becomes a mirror, a fire, a challenge. You don't get better by chance, you get better by choice, and by refusing to accept anything less than what you know you're capable of. Standards are not about being harsh. They are about being honest. Honest about what it takes to win. Honest about who you must become. Honest about what the highest version of you would never tolerate. When your standards are higher than your circumstances start to change. When your standards are higher than your past, your future begins to reshape. So decide right now, not what you hope to do, but what you will no longer accept, because that decision is the beginning of transformation. That decision is how you build a life worth living on your terms. You were not born to drift, you were born to dominate. But to do that, you must take full command of the only battlefield that matters, your own mind. Every victory, every breakthrough, every transformation begins there. Master your thoughts and you master your direction. Control your emotions and you control your reactions. Discipline your habits and you shape your destiny. This is not philosophy, it's war strategy. Because life doesn't hand you what you hope for, it hands you what you earn. Through focus, through action, through relentless inner work. Most will never do it. Most will wait for motivation, for permission, for the perfect moment, but not you. You know now that power doesn't come from outside. It's forged within. So, sharpen your mind. Set your standards. Train your thoughts like soldiers. And move with the force of someone who has already decided, I don't just want to win, I refuse to lose.